Oh, Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Now, Kurt's convinced that Robert De Niro's on some kind of Epstein list or some kind of thing like that, and then he's afraid that if Trump does get power, he's going to expose him, and he is actually going to come at him.
Of course Kurt thinks
That's
that.
what Kurt thinks that.
Kurt thinks that about everything that happens in the world.
I think Robert De Niro's just got Trump derangement syndrome.
I think he's old, too. There's a thing about old men.
And
they want to yell at everybody.
And he's completely... Did you see when he went and gave that speech outside of the trial? That was bizarre.
Who told him that was a good idea?
And then he started...
It's always been Robert De Niro playing the tough guy on screen. But apparently, Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly aren't buying the Hollywood act. One's a podcast pit bull, the other a media sniper. And together, they just turned De Niro's political rant into a cinematic flop. Rogan's calling out the hypocrisy, Megyn's peeling back the celebrity armor, and De Niro. He's gone from Godfather to grumpy grandpa live on air. What set them off? This roast deserves its own award.
What about the garbage outside today? Robert De Niro, officially sent by the Biden campaign, makes himself look like an idiot and reminds us why Trump is so popular.
It's so stupid. It was colossally stupid. If you're going to send somebody to go speak outside of the Trump trial, make it someone who's universally beloved, like a Michelle Obama. You know, she's not universally loved. She's not loved on the right. But I'm saying, like, at least within the left and the center left, and maybe even some center righties. Robert De Niro has gone so hard partisan over the past 8 years. He is like example number one of Trump.
Robert De Niro, the man who once made the mafia Oscar-worthy, now walks around like he's the official spokesperson for politically triggered rage aneurysms. You'd think he was cast as an angry New Yorker in a real-life Scorsese flick, storming through Manhattan in orthopedic shoes, yelling at skyscrapers. But these days, his biggest role isn't on the silver screen. It's becoming a loud, flustered PSA on how to age into a parody of yourself.
At regular people. He's like, fuck you, you're a gangster. Go fuck you. Like,
it's crazy that that's the guy from
what?
Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
You know what also I think those guys have no friends. I think the only friends they have are Hollywood phonies. And so you're in this weird world where everybody you talk to is a phony, and you become a phony, and everyone's a phony, and your grasp on reality is very slippery, and your eyes are going.
Now enter Joe Rogan, a guy who can go from talking about elk meat to dismantling celebrity egos faster than De Niro can scowl. Rogan didn't hold back. He didn't even pause to consider if De Niro might have a point. Why? Because watching De Niro rant about politics is like watching someone argue with a toaster. Dramatic, pointless, and destined to end in burnt toast and regret.
You see old people's text messages? The fucking text on their phone is like as big as my hand.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And so your vision of the world is blurring, literally and figuratively, and then you're getting old, and when old people are tired and cranky, they just want everyone to listen to them, and they don't have time to have a calm conversation, and you state out your opinion, I'll state my opinion, let's see where we have common ground. Get off my lawn! And that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. He's being this old grumpy man that is so lost that he thinks it's a good idea to stand in front of a bunch of people on the street and give a speech on camera about how bad Donald Trump is.
Rogan's style wasn't just a takedown. It was a full-on field tackle. De Niro had been stomping around like a geriatric gladiator, swinging verbal swords at anyone right of center. But Rogan came in like a bulldozer on ayahuasca and asked, "What is this guy even doing?" Not really asking, of course. It was a rhetorical haymaker meant to pin De Niro to the cultural dartboard, like a taxidermy cliche.
Robert De Niro has gone so hard partisan over the past 8 years. He is like example number one of Trump derangement syndrome. He's one of those, I'm moving to Canada if he wins, and he's never going to leave the White House if he wins. We're going to have Trump forevermore. I mean, hello, I hate to break it to you because I realize you're advanced age too, Robert, but people die. So he will leave. One way or the other, he's going to go. And in the not too distant future, even if Trump says he shouldn't have to. But in any event, he didn't do that the last time, Paul. Can you really picture a scenario in which Trump is more determined to hold on to power than he was at the last time in 2020, going into 2021? And what did he do ultimately? He won.
And Rogan didn't stop there. He tore De Niro apart like he was unraveling a conspiracy theory involving aliens and CIA dolphins. The idea of De Niro's constant political rage just didn't add up. Not to Rogan, not to anyone, maybe except a few aging editors at the New. Yorker and the ghost of Marlon Brando, slow clapping in the afterlife.
Why is he talking about this? Why is he talking about this publicly?
I'm going to say one thing. Trump.
If you're going to come out and say that you have a really deep-seated hatred for one of the two people running for president, you can't just be, he's a bully, he's a piece of shit, I hate him.
He's an idiot. Colin Powell said it best. He's a national disaster. He's an embarrassment to this country. It makes me so angry that this country has gotten to this point, that this fool, this bozo, has wound up where he has.
You probably, if you're going to express yourself about it and alienate 50% of the country, which it seems like it is, you're going to have to do better than that. You should have some specific things. Like he did some real estate deals with people in New York. Let me tell you what he did to people over.
I would love to hear it.
He did this and that. Let me tell you what he did that was fraud. He did this.
De Niro, of course, didn't respond. Probably too busy filming another movie where he plays a grumpy old man who mumbles through 3 acts before delivering a wheezy moral. Monologue so gravelly it needs subtitles. But Rogan wasn't aiming for nuance. He was there to highlight just how ridiculous it is that De Niro, once the master of subtle intensity, now sounds like a conspiracy theorist at Burning Man. Then came Megyn Kelly. She didn't roll in like Rogan with sarcasm and a protein shake. No, she brought receipts, stilettos, and enough rhetorical venom to drop a herd of wild boars. She looked at De Niro's public meltdowns and said, "This is what happens when actors confuse a teleprompter for a podium." While Rogan laughed off De Niro like he wandered onto a UFC weigh-in, Kelly did what she does best. Ripped apart. Celebrity nonsense like a kid unwrapping a gift she already hates.
Robert De Niro, who's got a severe case of the TDS, is in confront right now, as all of the muckety-mucks are. And he's very unhappy about what Trump is doing to try to keep filmmaking, American filmmaking, in America by slapping tariffs on foreign-made films so that he can basically try to force people to make them domestically again for the American audience that they're meant to serve. And here's what De Niro said on Tuesday.
America's Philistine president has had himself appointed head of one of our premier cultural institutions. He has cut funding and support to the arts, humanities, and education. And now he has announced a 100% tariff on films produced outside the U.S. Let that sink in for a minute.
And the best part? Megyn Kelly didn't even raise her voice. She dissected De Niro with cool precision, laying his political persona bare like a failed experiment. No shots at his acting. She respects the classics. But this wasn't about Taxi Driver or raging. Bull. It was about a legend turned loudspeaker, trading subtlety for shouting. Kelly nailed the absurdity. De Niro's not informing the public. He's auditioning as mayor of outrage, yelling at ghosts only he can see.
Robert De Niro, there's something about being a star where you think your opinion's more important than anybody else's, and you can go give a press conference, and he obviously has been very vocal from 2016 that he hates Trump for whatever reason. Maybe they have some personal thing.
You think Trump ever threw a punch himself or took one? This guy who ran and hid in the White House bunker when there were protesters outside? No way.
Now he's like holding press conferences. Now everyone's heckling him everywhere he goes.
That's so bad.
Like instead of just being this cranky old liberal, now you're this guy that is yelling at other people that are Trump supporters, and they're yelling at you. Like you've opened yourself up to this nonsense.
Rogan, meanwhile, seemed baffled. Was De Niro freelancing chaos or just left unsupervised? It wasn't partisan. It was pure confusion. Why is he yelling? Who gave him a mic? It felt like watching a vintage car crash in slow motion. Beautiful build, tragic spin out. Both Rogan and Kelly made the same point. De Niro's become a parody of himself, and no one in Hollywood dares to say it. If he ever stopped yelling, long enough to hear them, he'd probably act offended, on cue.
But De Niro doesn't want to play someone truly evil, you see. At least not a certain someone. Maybe Jimmy was a Democrat. By the way, De Niro is also very upset that Donald Trump is an alleged racist. Wonder if he pulled Jimmy Kimmel aside last night and asked him to atone for his blackface-loving past.
Rogan might have handed De Niro a protein bar and a reality check. Kelly would have smiled, nodded, and dismantled his relevance like an old op-ed. The truth? They didn't need to do much. De Niro's image, once iconic, is now just a puffed-up balloon of past glory, ready to burst. Rogan asked what everyone was thinking. Is this the hill De Niro wants to die on? In a wrinkled suit, ranting like he overdosed on prosciutto and lost faith in democracy. Meanwhile, Kelly turned his outburst into a full-blown obituary. Less legend, more loud uncle. At Thanksgiving.
Like, you didn't think this through. Like, this is... And he's getting yelled at. He's doing an outside press conference. Like, Robert, you're 80 years old. Don't ruin this thing. You've had this life where you were a fucking raging bull. You know, you were in The Godfather. Like, stop doing this. Man. Don't do this.
And here's the kicker. They don't want him to stop. This train wreck is too entertaining. Watching a Hollywood legend spiral into grumpy grandpa mode is cringe content you can't scroll past. Rogan, caught between sarcasm and sympathy, treated De Niro like someone trying to text on a flip phone. In 2025. Kelly? She practically mailed him a retirement brochure. It's not his politics, it's the performance. Rage as theater. Ironically, it might be his most fitting role in years. Rogan laughed it off. Kelly cut deep. And the audience? Glued to the spectacle.
To the people shouting him down like, your movies suck. That's not true.
No, his movies are very good.
Suck. He's one of the greatest actors. I mean, he's the heir apparent to Brando, blah, blah, blah. But he's a loon.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to just say what he is. He's, he has, basically, I describe this to people. You know what's happening now? Because people are aware about concussions and the problems with CTE. When you get hit and you get a dinger in football, they put you in the blue tent, in the sideline.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen to Democrats. They need to go in the blue tent for a little bit, kind of, get your eyes checked, and then come out and be rational again.
Yeah, cool off
and
a
De
little.
Niro needs to go in the blue tent. I mean, because it's not calming things down. We need to be rational.
Robert De Niro, once a cinema titan, is now being mocked not by comics, but by commentators. Joe Rogan asks, what is he even doing? While Megyn Kelly coolly narrates his downfall. De Niro offered no comeback. Just silence, louder than any rant. Rogan moved on. Kelly moved forward. De Niro, probably yelling at a pigeon, calling it patriotism.
The Niro Project needs friends as research.
Looking for cast. I don't know. I'm just checking.
What De Niro projects are even around? I mean, well, De Niro's probably trying to figure out where all his money's going because he's getting divorced right now. So he's probably, he's getting divorced.
Rogan swung with sarcasm. Kelly served eviction notices with precision. Whatever credibility De Niro had left got swept out like dusty trophies. He thinks he's battling the system, but the real machine, public opinion, is playing Rogan's laughs and Kelly's smirks. On loop. Turns out the loudest voice isn't always the strongest. Sometimes it's just noise echoing back with mockery. So what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you don't want to miss out on the hottest celebrity news, make sure to subscribe to Daily Finder.